Whether it's a crumpled dollar or a missing glove, spotting something on the cold concrete floor of a parking garage doesn't usually mean much. But now and then, even the most random item can lead to something bigger. Just ask Garrett Graff, a political author and historian. When a coworker picked something up off the ground in a garage, Graff didn't think much of it at first until he took a closer look. What came next turned into a years-long journey through some of America's most hidden secrets. Garrett Graff has spent his career writing about major national topics, from the War on Terror to the 2008 U.S. election. But one of his most surprising stories began with a simple handoff. A friend had found something strange on the ground and passed it along. It was a government ID from someone in the intelligence world, Graff said. He gave it to me because I write about that stuff, and he figured I could help get it back to the right person. It had been lying there in a parking garage. As soon as Graff looked at the ID, he noticed something odd. The back of it was covered in step-by-step driving directions. Being the curious reporter he is, he plugged them into Google Maps to see where they led, and the result caught him off guard. The route pointed to a mountain about 70 miles outside Washington, D.C. The road climbed all the way up and then just stopped. It literally ended at the side of the mountain, Graff said. When he made the drive out to see it for himself, what he found was even stranger. You could clearly see huge concrete doors built into the rock, he said. There was a guard shack, a chain-link fence, and beyond that, these massive bunker doors. It was something Graff had never seen before, and it wasn't marked on any maps. His historian instincts kicked in, and he started digging right away. At first, he had no idea what he'd found, but those directions led him straight to the Raven Rock Mountain Complex, also known as Site R. In short, he'd stumbled across a Cold War-era nuclear bunker. As he researched more, Graff uncovered a whole network of secret plans the U.S. government had in place for a nuclear emergency. Some parts were reassuring, others not so much. But all of it was deeply fascinating. Back in 1951, as tensions with the Soviet Union grew, President Truman's administration gave the go-ahead to build the Raven Rock bunker. To handle the job, they hired the same crew that had carved out tunnels for the New York City subway. So how did they manage to keep it quiet? Gene Bowman, one of the workers who helped blast through the granite, earning $1.35 an hour at the time, put it simply, they just said they were building a tunnel. Nobody really cared what it was for. But once construction was finished, it was clearly more than a tunnel. In an interview with NPR, Graff explained that Raven Rock was like a full-blown city hidden inside a mountain, basically a backup Pentagon. It had massive 34-ton blast doors built to withstand nuclear explosions. Past those doors, buried deep in the rock, were 100,000 square feet of office space. The complex was built to house up to 1,400 top government and military leaders, complete with cafeterias, medical rooms, and everything they'd need to survive underground. The one big catch? Families weren't allowed. That policy led to one memorable moment involving Supreme Court Justice Earl Warren. When someone handed him a Raven Rock access badge, he noticed there wasn't one for his wife. After being told she couldn't come, he simply handed the badge back and said, "Well then, you've got space for someone more important." Even though it sounds like something made just for VIPs to hide out, Raven Rock wasn't meant to be a safe haven for the powerful to wait things out. As Graff found in his research, detailed plans were drawn up for every federal agency, even ones you'd never expect, like the IRS and the post office. That's right, nuclear war or not, taxes still had to be sorted out. The IRS had specific rules for how to tax property that was damaged but not destroyed. And since the economy would be in chaos, the government stored away stacks of old $2 bills in a separate shelter to use as emergency currency. Every department had a role to play. The Parks Department would be in charge of setting up shelters for survivors. The Department of Agriculture was tasked with handing out food rations, and the post office, their grim job was to help track who survived and who didn't. During the Cold War, the risk of a nuclear attack felt so real that Raven Rock was staffed and running around the clock until 1992. After the events of September 11, 2001, the site went back to full-time operations, and it's still active today. The ID card Graf received had directions to just one secret facility, but as he kept digging, he uncovered several other hidden bunkers built for the same purpose. One was tucked underneath the Greenbrier Resort in West Virginia. These shelters were all designed to serve the same basic function. Another was deep inside Cheyenne Mountain near Colorado Springs. Like Raven Rock, this site was built in the 1950s and operated as the main command center for defending the U.S. and Canada against air attacks. According to Graf, Cheyenne Mountain came fully equipped, with fuel reserves, water tanks, medical offices, fitness rooms, and even a Subway sandwich shop. So if a nuclear attack hit, the person running the cash register might just end up riding it out with top officials. But the deeper Graf went into his research, the more uneasy the story became. If you're trying to preserve and restart the government after a nuclear strike, he told NPR, you run into this deeper question of what America really is. What he discovered didn't paint a comforting picture. The civilian population would basically be left on its own for weeks, maybe months, Graf said. Meanwhile, a small number of top government officials would be rushed off to safety in these bunkers. In short, the focus was on saving the system, not the people. And in a crisis that massive, maybe that's all they thought they could do. Graf eventually pulled all of his findings together in a book titled Raven Rock, the story of the U.S. government's secret plan to save itself while the rest of us die. It's wild to think that this journey through bunkers, secrets, and hard truths started with just one lost ID badge. So, honestly, what would you do if you knew the end was coming? Most people would probably just hope for the best, but some have taken their own survival into their own hands. John Hay was one of them. He had built a successful life. He co-founded Celestial Seasonings, the well-known tea company, and owned valuable land across the country. Still, one fear haunted him: nuclear war. In the early 1980s, tensions between the U.S. and the Soviet Union were heating up again. Both countries were loading up on weapons and preparing for the worst. Hay became convinced that a Soviet strike was coming, and soon. He didn't believe the government could protect him, but he figured he could protect himself. He'd always been a go-getter. A former Marine, Hay had launched Celestial by hand, gathering herbs in the Rockies and packing them into bags he and his team stitched themselves. In 1983, John Hay shifted his focus to the peaceful Ozark Mountains in Arkansas. He bought 240 acres of remote land for just $146,000. But it wasn't the forest that interested him, it was the massive limestone cave hidden beneath them. He believed it could be turned into the ultimate fallout shelter. Construction began right away. But before long, tensions between the U.S. and the Soviet Union started to ease, and the threat of nuclear war seemed to fade. So what was Hay supposed to do with a half-finished bunker? True to his business instincts, he adapted. Instead of using the cave just for survival, he began imagining it as a place for relaxation. He came up with a brand new idea. After several more years of building and remodeling, the old shelter was transformed into something completely different: the Beckham Creek Cave Lodge. What started as a backup plan for the end of the world had become a luxury underground getaway. Hay was pretty happy with the result. I didn't want to come through the war like Tina Turner and Mad Max, he joked, so I made my own little Tinseltown. To spend the night in one of the lodge's 4 bedrooms, guests have to be ready to spend up to $1,600 per night. It's a steep price, but for some, it's worth it. You can step into a hot shower each morning and leave behind the stress you carried down from the surface. Yep, even underground you won't be roughing it. There's a 75-inch LED TV mounted right onto the cave wall, and the built-in thermal heating keeps the space warm, even in the middle of winter. When it's time to eat, you can head into the sleek modern kitchen to cook or share a meal with friends. This isn't your average bomb shelter. No shelves lined with canned food here. Of course, guests aren't stuck inside the whole time. You can head out and explore the trails around the Ozarks, and if you're lucky, you might spot some of the area's incredible wildlife. Even inside the lodge, nature hasn't been shut out. Many of the original cave features are still there, like long natural stalactites hanging from the ceiling and even a small waterfall tucked inside the rock. And if the world ever takes a turn for the worse, guests can feel safe knowing the cave openings can be sealed up tight with concrete blocks. In true eccentric millionaire fashion, Hay didn't stop there. He also added a helipad, because you never know when you'll need to pop in by helicopter, right? And if you've ever dreamed of having this luxury cave all to yourself, here's your chance. The lodge recently went up for sale for $2.75 million. Someone out there will get to turn it into their own peaceful hideaway. Just picture yourself on the front deck, fire crackling, nothing but mountains in every direction, sipping herbal tea and quietly appreciating that one man's old fear gave way to something pretty amazing. If you enjoyed this story and want more just like it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share the video with a friend. You never know what surprising stories might be hiding in plain sight.